Hey guys, Tarnished Maggy got a huge overhaul in the last update of the Epiphany mod. First of all, she got a new and more unique unlock method. You have to play Tainted Maggy and find a sacrifice room in a regular run. Using your pocket Yum Heart here will spawn a new item called Bleeding Heart. Go ahead and take it. The Bleeding Heart will replace your Yum Heart. It has a reduced charge time of just 3 rooms, but also adds a heavy reduction of your tier stat. Your tier stat will be so low that you are basically forced to rely on your hack attacks. However, every time you do hack an enemy, her tier rate will get a big temporary boost. The Bleeding Heart will also prevent you from dying. Each time you would take fatal damage, Maggy will be healed by 1 heart, but get 3 broken hearts added. Of course, this only saves you 3 times. As soon as you got a 4th set of broken hearts, all 12 slots will be blocked and she dies. The goal of this hidden side quest is to defeat Mom's heart or it lives, while holding the Bleeding Heart. Doing so will open a secret passage leading to Tarnished Maggy. Tarnished Maggy starts with 3 red hearts and rather bad stats. She has a 75% damage multiplier, a 90% tier rate multiplier and a slow starting speed of just 0.8. Whenever Tarnished Maggy gets hit, multiple things will happen. First of all, she gets a huge temporary speed boost of plus 0.7 that slowly goes away over a 7 seconds duration. At the same time, Tarnished Maggy will start to bleed, which causes her to produce a damaging red creep trail and also grants her plus 1.5 range while the bleeding lasts. The most important part about Tarnished Maggy is her unique bleeding mechanic. Every time she takes damage, her bleed counter will increase by 2, while also starting a timer. Whenever the bar on her bleed interface runs down, her bleed counter will be reduced by 1 and she will lose half a heart in the process, until the bleeding counter hits 0. If Maggy doesn't have any health left to be drained, she will start to lose entire red heart containers instead. This will go on until the bleeding stops or she dies. There are obviously ways to counter the bleeding, which I will all explain in a bit, but let me clear up some basics first. The bleeding usually triggers whenever you take damage, but this does not include any form of sacrifice damage like curse room doors, sacrifice room spikes or blood donation and such. The bleeding will happen in a very specific order that you may want to be aware of before playing Tarnished Maggy. The first hearts to drain will always be your regular red health. After you are reduced to half a red heart, the bleeding will start to remove your black and soul hearts from right to left. After that, rotten hearts will be the next to be drained. Next in line are your actual red heart containers, which will be moved from right to left. And the very last type to save you from fully bleeding out are your bone hearts. But enough of the pessimistic part of the video. Time to talk about the way to save Tarnished Maggy: Cardiac Arrest. Each activation of Cardiac Arrest costs you half a red heart and will add 2 to your bleeding counter, but allow you to shoot a fast, piercing and spectral heart projectile. Every time your arrow hits an enemy, a huge amount of temporary half red hearts will scatter around the room. Use your speed boost to collect as many of them as you can. For every half red heart you collect while your red health is already full, Tarnished Maggy's bonus heart counter will be increased by 1. You can see it right below the bleed counter. This is your way to counter Tarnished Maggy's bleeding, because each time the bleed bar goes to 0, one of your bonus hearts will be removed first to protect your regular health. If you manage to reach a certain bonus heart goal, the hearts as well as an equal amount of bleed counters will be removed and you get a new red heart container. The amount of bonus hearts needed for a new container depends on your current red heart container count. The more you have, the more expensive a new one will be and vice versa. The required bonus hearts for a new red heart container go as high as 63 when you are at 11 hearts and as low as just 5 while you are at 1 or even 0 current red heart containers. The fact that new red heart containers are so cheap when you have very few of them also means that devil deals are a very viable strategy for Tarnished Maggy. Just sacrifice as many of your heart containers for powerful devil items as you can and easily get them back from just a few good uses of Cardiac Arrest. And while we are talking about devil deals, it is also worth to note that both the use of the item as well as the bleeding ticks don't affect your devil chances. Hitting an enemy with Cardiac Arrest not only spawns the red hearts, it will also grant you a small temporary damage up that will drain over the duration of 9 seconds. The magnitude of the damage up depends on the amount of enemies that you hit with the shot. You get +1 for the first, +0.5 for the next 4, and +0.25 for each one after the 5th target. Cardiac Arrest can be shot in the usual 8 directions if you throw it with your arrow keys. However, mouse or controller players get a full 360-degree range. If you don't know how to use your mouse while playing Isaac, just type mouse in the debug console, or watch my video on the top right to learn how to do it without the console. Now that you know how her bleed mechanic and the Cardiac Arrest item works, the general gameplay should be clear. Tarnished Maggy will be in a constant state of adrenaline rush. Always make sure to make each arrow count. A missed shot still adds 2 to your bleeding counter. Stay close to your enemies to have an easier time collecting the hearts. Well-placed arrows on huge enemy groups are obviously ideal, but only if you can actually get the hearts. You will break even as long as you get at least 3 hearts. Now that you know how Tarnished Maggy works, let me show you a few of her synergies and other item interactions. Just like the other Tarnished characters, Maggy also has her own Birthright effect. It will cause Cardiac Arrest to apply bleed to enemies and also have it drop soul hearts too. The activation of Cardiac Arrest counts as damage, which means it will synergize very well with all kinds of items that trigger whenever you get hit. The ones you can see right here are just a few powerful examples. Another good example would be the old bandage, which will support you with additional red heart drops each time you use Cardiac Arrest. The Cardiac Arrest projectile will also gain the effects of most of your tier modifier items. For example, it will apply poison and burn if you have Scorpio or Firemind. However, status effects are not the only tier modifiers that can be used by the Arrow of Love. It will also get the properties of items like Rubber Cement or Continuum. One of the best effects to get for Cardiac Arrest is homing. It will greatly increase your chance to hit enemies and make each shot generate bonus hearts. And of course, Tarnished Maggy has a lot of temporary stat boosts going, which means that Rock Bottom is generally a great item for her to lock all of them permanently. It is especially good here because her temporary speed and damage boosts stack with themselves. However, keep in mind that the true stats still tick down in the background, so you can't go infinite. I hope you enjoyed my showcase of Tarnished Maggy. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel and also make sure to check out the other Tarnished characters as well. Bye!
He's the #1
Isaac!
God's favorite son. His flowing robes reach down from heaven.